Sinkholes start to appear all over the world in the near future, causing explosions that send society into a complete panic. Huge monsters known as reapers emerge from these holes and chase after humans, killing them. They are unaffected by bullets, so even the military cannot save society. People who live at high altitudes eventually report that the monsters freeze at 8,000 feet, prompting survivors to relocate to elevated areas to begin a new life. Hunter now lives in a small, rocky mountain community in Colorado. 3 years later, one day he decides to cross the 8,000-foot safe line, curious about what's on the other side. Hunter only gets a few steps before encountering a reaper, so he starts running back. The monster almost gets him, but he makes it across the line just in time. Hunter then returns to his home at the Lost Gulch Refuge, where 193 survivors live. His father, Will, chastises him for crossing the safe line, reminding him of the monsters as well as Hunter's lung problems. Hunter explains that he only wanted to meet new people, and Will points out that he can't lose him like he did his wife. Later, Will goes hunting with Katie and tells her what happened. Katie understands his concerns, but she also points out that Hunter is the only child in their community, so it's understandable that he wants to make friends to play with. Will, on the other hand, explains that Hunter is simply attempting to return to the location where he last saw his mother. Meanwhile, scientist Nina is experimenting with bullets and testing them on a piece of reaper hide, but they still do not cause any damage. That night, Will becomes irritated when he hears Nina still shooting and recalls the time his wife left with her for the special mission that killed her. When he hears Hunter coughing, he rushes to the boys' room to replace the filter on the machine that helps him breathe. Hunter eventually calms down and falls asleep again, but that was the last filter in the house. Will looks at some maps, wondering how difficult it would be to cross the line and look for more filters. On Hunter's birthday, Will obtains the community's last box of mac and cheese to treat his son. While they cook, Hunter wonders why they no longer use the radio. Will explains that they need to save electricity, so they communicate with other refugees using flags. Hunter believes this is unfortunate because talking to others is important. That night, Hunter coughs again, and Will has no choice but to administer an injection. After Hunter falls asleep again, Will goes to see Nina and informs her that he will leave for Boulder in the morning to look for filters for his son. He claims to have found a safe road, but Nina is skeptical because she knows the area well. It turns out that her old lab is in Boulder. Will wants her to accompany him because she has studied reapers for years and survived her previous trip. However, Nina points out that she was only lucky, and Will's wife died during that trip. Will refuses to give up and tells her about a mine that runs through the mountains, but Nina believes it's worse because the reapers can trap them there and refuses to go. After Will leaves, Nina works on modifying a compass, but she can't stop thinking about Will's wife's death, which brings her to tears. Meanwhile, Will asks a neighbor to look after Hunter before heading to the gun store to buy a bunch of weapons. Katie appears and announces that she will accompany him, ignoring his protests. Nina also gives in and agrees to come, mocking Katie because she lacks experience and will be a burden. Will says goodbye to Hunter and promises to return, but the boy notes that his mother said the same thing. The trio eventually leaves and Nina continues to be rude to Katie, prompting Will to tell her to behave. Nina then explains that reapers emit strong bioelectromagnetic pulses, which her modified compass can detect when they are within a half mile. After a long walk, they discover the Elba Fire Road and the 8,000-foot line. Once the compass confirms there are no monsters nearby, the trio crosses the line and begins to descend. Moments later, they come across some abandoned trucks and search them for supplies. They receive flares, ammunition, and even a grenade launcher that Katie knows how to use. Nina also discovers a reaper scale and spends some time gathering a sample. When Katie tries to rush her, they argue, and Nina accuses her of attempting to get into Will's pants. Katie is furious and pushes her against a truck, reminding her that Nina killed Katie's best friend, Will's wife. The women start punching each other, and Will has to separate them before things get worse. The group continues their journey and is surprised to discover a herd of horses in the forest, implying that the Reapers only attack humans for some reason. They eventually make it to Alta Vista ski area, where they intend to take the chairlift to the mine safely. Nina's compass indicates that a monster is nearby, and they notice something shaking the forest trees. Will immediately climbs to the top of the lift and begins working to activate the backup generators, while the women remain on the ground to provide cover. Katie panics when she sees the monster approaching and fires a few grenades, causing explosions but doing no damage to the Reaper. Will finishes connecting the generator, and Nina presses the switch before settling into a chair, where Will immediately joins her. They open fire on the Reaper as it approaches, and Katie begins climbing the tower to reach the chairs. The monster jumps on the cables, causing the chairs to shake, but the two manage to hold on. Katie waits for the right moment to jump, but misses the chair, forcing Will to catch her midair. Nina runs out of bullets just as the monster shakes the cables again, knocking all three of them to the ground. They immediately begin running and cross the line into the 8,000-foot area just before the monster can catch them. Since it's getting dark, the trio decides to spend the night at the ski resort. While they share a drink, Nina mentions that when the Reapers appeared, they killed 95% of the world's population without eating or sleeping. Predators kill to eat, whereas Reapers kill humans for fun and do not harm other animals. This makes her wonder if they were sent specifically to eliminate humanity. After the women fall asleep, Will recalls his last conversation with his wife, who was confident in Nina's ability to find a way to kill the Reapers. The next day, the group arrives at the mine where Will previously worked. He explains that both ends of the tunnel are above 8,000 feet, but the lower levels fall below the safety line, which is not well received. The tunnels aren't properly sealed, so the creatures could still find them, and Nina's compass doesn't work underground. They've come this far, so Nina and Katie have no choice but to continue following Will. Wearing construction helmets for light, the trio enters the tunnels and walks in silence for several hours. Unfortunately, they are forced to stop when they discover that the main tunnel has been closed due to a cave-in. Will announces that they must descend to level 7, which entails walking 1,000 yards under the line. After being startled by some bats, the trio takes the stairs and enters the new tunnel, moving as quickly as possible to avoid trouble. They hear a noise and cover the lights on their helmets, but it's too late. There's a Reaper in the tunnel who has already seen them. The group immediately begins running, with Katie shooting the occasional grenade in an attempt to slow the monster down. Abandoned machinery also holds the Reaper back, and Will opens fire, but it is pointless. When they discover a hole in the wall, the trio rushes inside, where Will shoots at the rocks to create enough space for the three of them to hide. The Reaper inserts its glowing tail into the hole, so Will throws a flare to distract it. The light reveals a way out in the opposite wall, so they push a few rocks aside and crawl through it to escape. Will moves last and must avoid the Reaper's tail before joining his friends. Katie emerges from another tunnel after a few minutes of crawling, only to be discovered by a Reaper, who stabs her with its tail right away. Will tries to reach for her, but he is too slow and has to watch as the monster takes her away. Nina discovers a ladder at that point, and she and Will immediately climb up, despite hearing a Reaper approaching. Fortunately, they find the door and escape from the mine, reaching a safe altitude just in time. Nina and Will continue their journey, stopping only to pet a goat. When it gets dark, they discover an abandoned house and break in to spend the night. They have some mac and cheese boxes for dinner, and Will tells them that it is Hunter's favorite food. He asks Nina what's in the old lab, and she says she might find a chemical that will help the bullets damage the monsters. She believes the Reaper's scales are electrically charged, so the right bullet could cause internal combustion. Will thinks it sounds like an unbelievable magic bullet and can't believe his wife died because of a weak theory. The next day, they remove the truck from the house and use it to cross the line as quickly as possible, passing through a town overrun by animals. They eventually make it to the hospital and search for the filters while hearing strange noises, but the compass alerts them to nothing. They have to go to the last floor to find the filters, after which they begin running to escape. Suddenly, a Reaper pierces a wall, and the duo must move quickly to avoid the huge claws. Every time the Reaper destroys a wall or a window, they are hit by falling debris and bump into a bunch of furniture on their way out. Nina grabs the fire axe and hits the monster's tail until it lets go of her friend. Nina then uses a gas canister to fill the corridors with fog, hoping to provide some cover. This gives Will an idea, so he waits for the Reaper to get close enough before shooting a bunch of oxygen tanks. It causes an explosion, launching the monster through the window. The creature is no longer moving, but they are unsure whether it is dead or unconscious, so they must act quickly. Will wants to go back, but Nina persuades him to help her get to the lab so she can finish her bullets. The Reaper awakens after the duo leaves in the truck. They arrive at the lab moments later, where Nina begins mixing chemicals while Will keeps an eye on things. On one of the desks, he discovers a picture that reveals Nina once had a family that she never discusses. Nina sobs as she explains that on the day the world ended, she had been working and couldn't be with her family. She feels particularly guilty because her son had a soccer game that day, and she chose not to attend. Nina also admits to hating herself for causing Will's wife's death, but Will assures her that it was not her fault. Nina finally finishes her bullet and tests it on the hide, but nothing happens. She tells Will to return to his son, but she plans to continue experimenting until she finds a solution or the Reapers kill her. Will drives away in his truck, leaving Nina to try another bullet mix, which also fails. She is so preoccupied that she does not notice her compass reacting. At that point, she hears some noise, but also realizes there's a chemical combination she hasn't tried before, so she rushes to mix it as a last resort. Meanwhile, the truck accidentally pops a tire and loses control, causing it to fall on its side. Will is unconscious for a few moments, but it awakens when he hears a monster approaching. He has to kick off the truck window to get out and begins running as the Reaper pursues him. Going up the hill is difficult for his body after the crash, and by the time he is about to cross the safe line, a second Reaper has blocked his path. Will desperately opens fire but is unsuccessful, and he loses hope, but Nina appears and fires her new bullets. A strange explosion occurs, filled with smoke and electric charge, confirming her theory. Nina quickly shoots all of the Reapers, killing them in seconds, even when they try to escape. Then she grabs a piece of the Reaper's body and shows Will the mechanical parts, confirming that these creatures are robots designed to kill humans. When Will asks who sent them, Nina speculates that it was aliens. When the two return to their refuge, Will reunites with Hunter, and Nina raises a pirate flag, announcing that she has discovered a way to fight. Survivors soon gather to make tons of special bullets, and Will finally uses the radio to spread their message of hope. Nina also keeps monster bodies to continue studying them. Once everyone has been armed, the survivors will enter the forest and kill as many Reapers as possible in order to retake the land. One night, Will and Nina look up at the sky with a telescope and notice 3 mysterious lights approaching Earth. All right, that's a wrap for today. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. It really helps the channel. Leave a comment with your thoughts and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching and see you next time.